Welcome back to ShredMentor Live. This is your host, Jason Aaron Wood here, and this is episode 48. Now, it should be 52 if I had done this every single week, which means I missed a couple, but yesterday was Halloween, which means that I've been doing this over a year. Right? So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm surprised that I know I started this in mid-October, this series, ShredMentor Live, last October, mid-month. So here we are. Hey, Dan, welcome, man. Good to see you here. So tonight, right, day after Halloween, hope you guys, hope everything's going smoothly. But speaking of smoothly, though, let's talk about that legato. So one thing about legato, and I will admit it is my habit to refer to hammer-ons and pull-offs in particular as legato, but it is not. Those are the techniques on the guitar that we use for legato. Okay, but what we do here is, let's go over to this view so that we can talk about this properly, and I can see you on the chat. Legato is less of a technique, although every instrument is capable of it. Well, perhaps not harpsichord. Most instruments are capable of it, but it's not so much a technique, but it's more of an effect achieved by certain techniques, okay? When I say technique, I usually mean things you do with your fretting hand or with your picking hand, or things you do with your hands on the instrument to create certain types of effects. So legato in itself isn't exactly a technique, melodically speaking, and from a expressive performance point of view it is, but to differentiate it from things like hammer-ons and pull-offs and sliding technique, which are the primary means of achieving it on a stringed instrument that's, a plucked string instrument in particular. That's a bit different from how a piano player or a flute player or a violin player, even a violin, which is another string instrument, they're going to achieve that in a very different way by continually bowing and fingering. So it's a similar technique on the fingerboard hand, but a little less on the picking/bowing hand. So, and really a lot less, because they don't have to exert as much pressure because they're not doing hammer-ons and pull-offs. They're just applying the pressure and taking it off. We don't need, a violin player or other bowed string player doesn't need to slam down to get a note to ring out, whereas we kind of do. So tonight we're going to be talking about ways that you can get much more smooth legato instead of what a lot of people have, which would be something like with all these little choppy breaks in between them. That's not legato. That was a bunch of little, it was practically staccato, frankly, okay? What we really want to be able to do is all the notes should be pretty smooth. All right, so I'm going to walk you through some ways that you can get it to be there and less of the choppy, disjointed version that many people continue to struggle with, okay? It's all going to be about how you approach these techniques, okay? And I will occasionally bring us over to guitar practice tools so you can kind of see what patterns I'm actually dealing with. Let me make sure I have that pulled up correctly on my screen. I do not. Also, just yank the thing out of my ear. I'll probably do about 8 more times tonight or more. Let's see here. Right, that's not coming up. There it is. There we go. Okay, so, all right, let's get everything up here. And yeah, let's just, let's go to Guitar Practice Tools right now. Okay, so there we are. So we're going to go over to our guitar practice whiteboard. And that would be, hopefully you're seeing that, but yeah, this right here, okay? That's where we're going to go. I've already preloaded it so that it is ready to go, because this is a little bulky. It's kind of loading almost everything from the entire site onto one page, so it gets a little slow at first. But this way, we can kind of look at the different, I guess we could call them different classes of fretboard patterns. Not so much a certain scale versus another, but a 2-note per string pattern or a 3-note per string pattern, or just these little 3-note per string hexachord shapes, just 6-note scale fragments. We're going to use all of them in different ways. And so I just want to have this available for you to look at as we get into it, okay? So now, first things first though, it doesn't really matter where you go with this. I suggest for everything you do that you choose rather a scale pattern that is not necessarily the chromatic scale as your basis for doing this. You might as well get more out of your activity time than just a finger exercise, okay? Everything you are going to do ever is going to get your fingers moving, so that's kind of the bare minimum. It shouldn't be the only thing you achieve in your time because you're kind of squandering your time. You're not going to get that time back, neither am I. So let's aim for bigger results. And that's going to start with not wasting your time doing things that don't sound particularly musical. So, whereas you might start off, we're going to do trills first, okay? And I'll tell you why in a minute here, but let's say if I wanted to get every finger combination, right? As it's 1 and 2, then 1 and 3, then 1 and 4, then 2 and 3, then 2 and 4, and then 2 and 3, or sorry, 3 and 4. All right, that's it. That's all of your combinations. 1 with all of the others, 2 with all of the others, and 3, and that's it. There's 6 combinations of 2 fingers on your fretting hand, unless you are one of those lucky mutants that developed a full finger. Get in touch if so. I'd like to see you play. Anyway, yeah, instead of doing that, that's none of that altogether combined is not a particularly musical sounding exercise, and you're not getting any theory or fretboard knowledge benefit out of that whatsoever. So let's get away from that. Every one of those things I just did was an interval, just by virtue of how far apart my fingers actually are. So the reason for doing trills, first of all, is because you can target those finger combinations. Any particular finger combination that is weaker, and let's face it, some of them are naturally going to be weaker, like 3 and 4, if my guess is correct. 3 and 4 and 2 and 4 are particularly going to be, you'll be a little less adept at that right out of the gate. And you're going to have to work those combinations harder to get them up to get those finger combinations up to speed. And what better way to do that than a trill, where it's nothing but that finger combination. And now here's the trick though. Don't just do count uncounted, or that's nice. That's sort of like what it sounds like, but unless you're paying closer attention, you won't realize that it's actually a rhythmic figure. Everything you do should be a rhythmic figure. So what we want to do here is count either groupings of 4 or 6, okay? And to start with, I actually recommend you pick the first note out of each one. It's not exactly fully legato, but I want you to get in the habit of counting this first. You can take the pick strokes back out later, but let's say if I'm doing a whole step, all right, 1 E and a 2 E. Don't have to do it fast either, by the way. So having that pick stroke in there helps you keep track of where 1 out of every 4 is. So what I do is I pick, and then I do whatever the half whatever the desired number is of hammer-ons. So if I want it to be 4, I pick and then I do 2 hammer-ons. I don't really worry about the pull-offs in between. We will talk about pull-offs in a second though, because there's an important thing I want to make sure you're not leaving out. Because if you're having trouble with your pull-offs, there's a very good reason why it's probably happening, and I can probably help you solve that right now or tonight. Okay, so, right now, if I did 6, I would just do pick, and then 3 hammer-ons. 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? And so if I want to get moving around, I won't get all of my finger combinations in this one little 3-note shape, but I'm using what's called a trichord, which is a 3-note scale fragment. This is just where notes 1, 2, and 3 are of the A minor scale. Or, hey, I could also look at it as notes 4, 5, and 6 of the E minor scale too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So Having that extra pick stroke in there is also really important for what I'm playing right now, because there's a repeat in between. A, B, A, B, A, B, and then B, C, B, C, B, C. So if I didn't pick again on the first of 6 notes here, you're not even going to hear the other B. It's just going to be... Right, so it helps to create a rhythmic moment in there too. Now, what about my poor middle finger? I'm not getting any work out there. So here's what you do. Move up a mode. This is that scale knowledge that I was talking about. You can benefit yourself a lot by moving up to, okay, there was a half step at B and C. There's still going to be a half step at B and C, but move up to where those are the lower 2 notes out of the 3 and go to the next note. Now you're leaving out the ring finger, but at least they're all in rotation. And then you can also do your thirds, 1 and 4, fingers 1 and 4. All right, so this is how I got my pinky, by the way, to catch up to all the other fingers, because about 22 years ago, specifically, I started to notice that, you know, like this pinky thing is starting to get on my nerves. It's really getting in the way, actually. So what can I do to get this pinky to catch up? I'm going to have to work that pinky a lot. That's what it is. It's naturally at a disadvantage, so we need to overwork it. Not all at once, but, you know, a little bit as we go, right? So we need to put more time in on the pinky to get it to catch up. And that's just not going to come right away, but it did come within a couple months. And I've been relying heavily on my pinky ever since the year 2000. So trust me, from experience, my first hunch was right and it works. So you can do this too. Okay, so trills, that's the first thing, all right? So rather than just get all chromatic about it, you might as well work your way through different modes of the scale. Right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 that is what I'm doing on every single phrase. The rhythm is the idea. Moving it around and making these different note combinations be that rhythm pattern is what I'm actually doing here. Okay? So don't at any point lose track of your counting when you do these. This is the one thing missing from almost everybody's trills in the whole world when it comes to guitar players. Not so much other players, but it's just it's been done without a count for so long. And of course, in an orchestra, for example, when you have a whole bunch of people, they're probably not going to be perfectly tight with the music the same way. But you, the metal guitarist out there, have no excuse. That's what's required of you as a metal guitarist, to be a friggin' machine. So get tight with it, count, don't stop counting. Make sure, you know, and I told you what I do to count. I'm not actually going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's just, I'd be a madman if I had to do that out loud. Just pick and then do half the number of hammer-ons of whatever the number is that you're going for. So if I wanted 4, I do 2 hammer-ons. 6, do 3 hammer-ons. If I want 8, I do 4 hammer-ons. Right? And just keep that rhythmic figure thing going. If you lose track, slow down. Do it at a speed you have control of, but put a little bit of an accent in there with that pick stroke. Later on, you'll take that pick stroke out of there, but that is the first and most important thing, because that allows you to get all of your finger combinations. Remember, it's not hard. There's not that many. It's not hard to keep track of them, that is. It's fingers 1 and 2, fingers 1 and 3, fingers 1 and 4. That's finger 1 and all the others. Then finger 2 and all the others. Finger 3 and the only one that's left. All right, so that's it. So you've already covered. That's all 6 combinations. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. 2, 3, 2, 4, and 3, 4. There's all 6 of your finger combinations for the fretting hand at least. Okay, so let's get out of that area and do the next technique, okay? And, well, concept, sequence. Yeah, whatever. This would be called a turn, okay? And a turn is basically just, it involves a central note and the two notes around it, okay? And so this is another good one where, again, just move around through the scale. This is not just trills, do it for everything I'm saying here. Move it around in the scale because every possible finger combination you'll ever need for actually playing music is already in your scale. You just need to find the location where that finger combination is the most appropriate and efficient. All right, so next we're going to do trills. I was going to do everything in E minor, but I feel like doing it in A minor now, so I guess it's going to be A minor for tonight. I'll try to do everything in the same key, just so it's all in reference to the note A, and you can find it. It might be a harmonic minor. It might be a natural minor. I'm going to give you the easiest shape you can do first, and I'm going to suggest some specific modes so that you get the whole hand in on the job, rather than just these things where like one finger gets left out because that finger doesn't have a place in that shape. All right, so the next one is the turn, okay? And typically a turn starts on the middle note, and it's basically, it can be 1, 2, 3, 2, or 2, 3, 2, 1, or 3, 2, 1, 2, or 2, 1, 2, 3. But basically you're just going up and down 3 notes. So I start on the lower one that time. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. So whatever the first note is of this, it's a 4-beat melody, all right? So make it 16th notes. Make everything you do a rhythmic pattern, okay? That's the first goal of everything, is to put it into a specific rhythmic motion. It should become a rhythmic feel, okay? So if that's the note I start on, then every time I come back to that, that kind of needs to be the main note you hear. I need to play that note a little bit louder. I'm not going to do the pick stroke every time this time though, because we really just want we want 2 hammer-ons followed by 2 pull-offs. Now here's what I was going to say about the pull-offs, because as I said, if you're having trouble with your pull-offs, there's a good chance it's this. Your pull-offs should be a very light pluck. So if I'm going to take the amp out of it, and hopefully you can just hear me in the room here, but I don't have to hammer on to get to a pull-off. Listen for my A note. Again. See what I'm doing? I'm pulling, literally plucking the string a little bit to the side with the finger that's leaving the string. So if you're in the habit of just lifting your finger off and praying and hoping that it's going to happen, stop doing that, because that's ineffective and it's sort of a gamble. You might get a neat note, you might not. You might get a really sloppy sounding noise, or it might not be much of anything audible at all, and if you're using a noise gate, it's more of a chance you're not going to hear anything at all. Anyway, stop chancing it. It's not a lift off, it's a pull off. So there's a little bit of a pluck. So as your finger leaves the string, catch a little of the finger skin there. Just, get a little bit of a pluck. That is where the momentum comes in this kind of thing. You don't want to pluck too hard, because then it's not legato. Legato is smooth and connected. Literally, legato means like tied together, okay? So we want this to be tied together. We don't want a sharp attack to the note, because that's the opposite of legato. Well, actually, staccato is truly that's the opposite of legato. But anyway, we're losing the smoothness of it, and so the whole point of this, pluck, pluck, hammer on, pluck, pluck. So even if you're doing it crazy, crazy slow, do it evenly and with accenting. So your first note you can pluck, but what I suggest actually is don't even do that. You just do it for the first time, fine, but every other time you're going to come back to it, it's going to be from a pluck, a pull off. So never mind this hand, I'm just going to lean my thumb of my picking hand across all the other strings so they can't ring out, and I'm just going to go push this down silently and then pluck like I'm coming from the last note of the phrase, which is going to be a B. 2, 3, 4. This note, I can pluck a little harder there because that is supposed to be an accent, so I can get away with a little bit of an extra nudge in there. So again, poor middle finger, not getting anything out of this. So you can either use harmonic minor and move down a mode, which is only a half step down. So where you were using an A before, You're moving down a half step, so you'll still play an A. And then you'll use your, I'm getting the ring finger out of the way only so you can see. It would never tuck your finger back behind the neck, obviously. But anyway. That's the tough part. You can pluck and slide in. So anyway, sliding is that third piece in this. Hammer-ons and pull-offs are going to be your main technique for this on the guitar, or on the bass for that matter, or I guess even on the mandolin or any other stringed plucked instrument you can think of. So doing a slide like that is how you'll get around. All right, but doing it from the middle note. The hammer-on into that note from A is going to be the accent there. Starting from the third note down, so 3, 2, 1, 2. It's going to be a hammer-on with the pinky. So now we're starting to get into that difficult area. Okay, and then you also have another one that starts on the middle note, which is basically the very last, as if it's the last note, 1, 2, 3, 2. Right, this is actually starting here, so we're going to start with the pull-off from the pinky. So these are what I refer to as offsets, or a theme offset. The theme is just 1, 2, 3, 2. And if we just repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, what comes next? 3. And you can tell what the pattern is, especially with a short melody like that. You just go through every individual note of the melody as the starting point, and just repeat it as if you were going to keep playing it forever anyway, but look at it 4 notes at a time. And that's how you get all the different starting points. And it might seem like you're just doing the same thing, but that accent makes it so that it's not. The first note of whatever you play is the accent. So this is really, because it's a 4-note melody, there are 4 places I can start. There are 4 different notes being accented, 1 in each one. So practice all of them. Don't just pick one and do it. You can have your favorite, but play them all as if each note is, give each one of them that accent, because that's the difference in the accent. The difference in how you're going to perform it is getting that hammer-on or that pull-off a little louder on that one note and not losing your place. All right, so that's called a turn. All right, let's see. All right, now there is a similar, this is essentially the same sequence. I'm going to start on note 2. All right, sequence-wise, the lowest note is the number 1, and then the highest note is whatever the highest number is. Okay, this is also going to be a turn, but I'm going to start on 2, which is 2, 3, 2, 1. And here's where I'm getting tangled in my own guitar with my headphones. Okay, so this one, I'm going to use an open string for this, okay? And let's see. I'll use the second string. That way I'm still in A minor. This is a very common kind of thing, by the way, if you just move it up like to the 5th fret, or, I'll do this on the 1st string. I think just about every 80s guitar hero had some kind of solo, in their whatever live section where they're like, right? Some kind of thing, that kind of pattern. It maybe was on the 2nd string. Right, or whatever, But that's the kind of thing. You can do this with basically 1 open string note and 2 fretted notes, okay? So I'm just purposely choosing a diminished 7th pattern. It's going to be a diminished 7th. Right now it's just a diminished triad. It's starting on the 2, the 4, and the 6 of the A minor scale. B, D, and F. A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's the triad for note 2 of the scale. But I'm starting on D. Hammer on to F with the pinky, pull back off, and then pull out with the 1st finger. very easy to forget about hammer-ons and pull-offs with the first finger. So this is a very good exercise for that, because sometimes an open string can really save you some trouble. Sometimes it can really cause you some trouble too, but in this case, it'll save you some trouble. So that's it's exactly the same sequence, 2, 3, 2, 1. It's just like what we did here. Right? Except now we're doing it with a wider interval pattern, and we're saving ourselves some trouble because we don't have to fret all 3 of the notes. I hope you're playing these, by the way. Don't just watch me. Do this stuff, because we got a real workout tonight, and I'd hate to be the only one getting the workout, because I'm improving my playing right in front of you. You should get the benefit too. This is for you. So here we go. Now, what's great about this is if I just move up 3 frets and just keep using the open string, it'll now be a diminished 7th. And then you can come back to the E and finish on the 5th of the scale, and it's a nice exotic ending. Anyway, so that's what that was. That's the Phrygian dominant sound. All right. Now, you may feel your hand about to explode. I do. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I will say that this might be a good thing to not spend a whole hour on. First of all, you shouldn't. Don't squander a whole hour on in your practice routine on just this, because the quality of your concentration just plummets after about 52 minutes anyway. Okay, so that's science. I'm not making this shit up. Okay, but anyway, squandering an entire hour on one skill is really a bad thing in the first place. You're only going to get so much better at it today, but today I'm going to start solving your problem. Okay, so the things I show you here today are like a buffet table. I want you to pick a few, and every day do about 10 minutes worth. And the part about my hand being about to explode, I am stalling a little bit so that it doesn't do that as much, because I have signed myself up for a major workout here, because I am doing an hour of legato, and this is not my only hour playing today. I've played quite a lot today. So the thing is, though, you might want to save that little bit toward the end, so that when your hand is about to explode, or your forearm, in my case, it's I'm really feeling it up here from all the, that is starting to really build up tension in here. So I did stretch beforehand, and that's kind of a good thing to do too. Get all your involved muscles, worked out and everything. But it might be good to save your legato toward kind of the end part of your session. So if you have a 1 hour session, do it in the last 10 minutes. Okay, and just do some of what I'm doing here today. Okay, one of the things I'm doing here too, by the way, I have a very systematic way of approaching the number of repeats. Eventually I work my way down to 1 repeat each, but I like to do 4 or 8 first, so that I can do it correctly in that one place. So you notice I was doing 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. No break in between. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll do 2 each. In whatever order, it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll skip over one. Skip that 6th fret one. Go back, skip that one. Different, you're practicing different challenges and focusing on those. So as you get more comfortable with it, you can do that. But anyway, eventually it's 1 time each. All right. So again, just no matter whatever you do, make sure it's not the shape you just did by the end. And, then go back to doing multiple repeats, because you need to, go over that ground a little bit more just to get, get all the kinks out of it. But anyway, that's another variation. Essentially, it's a turn, because that's the same exact sequence we were just doing. It's just a bit of a wider one. Now, if you want to go, a little crazier, you can go back into the fingerings we were using before, but just go up higher and do exactly the same thing. Except now we're going to have to move the low note with us. Right. So yeah, anyway, you can get into some crazy stuff, a lot less relaxed up there, but that's it's basically a diminished triad per string on strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're basically going back and forth. So if my lowest note was 13 on this one, I'm going to go down a fret for the second string, back up a fret, same fret basically on the third string as on the first string. And just going back and forth between two strings, very good idea. All right, so anyway, a little harder to get smooth with that kind of thing, especially if you're working your ass off. But eventually, just try to do a whisper with that little pick stroke as you come in there. That's kind of what I'm aiming to do. Let me go with my neck pickup and see if I can get away with a little bit better than that. And also the stretch is killing me, so I'm going to go up one more inversion. Okay. All right. So kind of just, create it as a rhythm pattern. Make it have a rhythmic feel. That's the first most important goal. Okay. Anyway, that's it for that one. Now, this is another one. I really love doing this one. It's a 1, 3, 2, 1 sequence, okay? And it's a really good one for just moving around. It takes 3 notes, but the first note is repeated again at the end. So in this case, 1, 3, 2, 1. A, C, D, A. Now, I love doing this in harmonic minor because all I have to do is slide back and forth past this 1 fret wire between the 5th position and the 4th position. Okay. And I'm just muting all of the other strings. I'm not actually using my pick at all. I'll just, let's see, do that first pluck, why not? This is where we start to get that sliding into it because it's very important to be able to do that. All right, I cheated and used a pluck, but whatever. You can do a pluck on. You can actually pick on the first note. Just get in the habit of using string noise control on the other hand. So. And again, by using this between these two modes, I have very minimal movement as far as shifting positions, but I get my ring finger in on this shape and my middle finger in on that shape. So it works itself out, and there's not a whole lot of moving around involved just to at least get all your fingers in, every finger combination. When it's done quickly, it sounds like tapping. Yes, and you know what? I did say it's all about hammer-ons, pull-offs, and sliding. I left out tapping because to me, that's just more hammer-ons, pull-offs, and sliding. So I'm going to deal primarily with this hand tonight, but frankly, yeah, it should, because tapping, when done correctly, is the same technique with additional fingers. So, good point, Dan. You're right. And I guess you could probably come up with a way to play it, with tapping too. So let's say I'll do the three tapping. I'll bring these notes up here just to save myself from reaching. Yeah, hard to coordinate that, but you could actually turn it into a tapping thing if you want. So yeah, but anyway, just for this, just What's nice about this too is if you take it from the root mode and slide to the second mode, you're getting both of the same finger combinations, but it's almost like ramping up the challenge just a little bit because now your slide is a whole step, and they're also in the other order. So the middle finger shape is lower in this case. Now it's the ring finger shape. But we go back up and it's the middle finger shape again. So you can really get a lot of kind of fun out of that, you know, just doing it that way. But so anyway, that's it. That's all there is to that one. Of course, you can kind of go crazy if you want with like let's see, where was I? So it turns out that one's hard. Surprise, right? But doing the same thing with wider interval stretching, you're still going to only have the same finger combinations anyway. In fact, that one, whenever it's, if I wanted to do like a minor, then I would do like first, second, and fourth finger. Slide down to D. So let's see if I can do it with A minor and G major. It might be a little easier. So anyway, yeah, just if you feel like this isn't challenging enough, you can always go in for a wide stretch and just bring it way, way up the fretboard for that kind of thing. And you get to kind of use the same movements, they're just a little further apart. So it's nice because you're building motor memory that you can reuse. This is why sequences are the shit, because it's the exact same idea. Anyway, okay, so moving on to the next thing. There's actually one that was not on my list and I want to do. This is almost like a trill, and it has a really weird outside sound. It's another diminished seventh kind of thing, but you can kind of do it with any interval, but I'd really like the sound of either minor thirds or major thirds, and you always slide to whatever note you just hammered on and pull off from, okay? But here's the idea. This one is actually more of a mordent. Well, mordent is basically either an upper mordent, which is, or a lower mordent, which is basically you start at a particular note and then you either go up to the next note and back down, or you go down to the next note and back up, okay? So what we're gonna do here is just do this with, you know, minor thirds though. Anyway, yeah, decided to try to get a little crazy with that one. But anyway, it can sound, it's almost this slippery, fretless sounding, drunken sounding thing in a way. And so it can be a cool effect in general, but it's a really good workout because you really got, there's a lot of sliding in this one. Just back and forth between two of them is challenge enough. You can go outside of the scale, and I'm basically doing a diminished scale with minor thirds in this case. I'm doing my accent with the slide, which is where some of that weird, slippery, drunken kind of right, so anyway, that's a fun one. Let's listen to what that sounds like as a more augmented sound, all major thirds. Okay, so let's see. This would be E. I'm going to line it up to the 5, the raised 7, and I guess just the minor third of the harmonic minor scale. So that would be E, G sharp, slide to G sharp, and C. Yeah. The wider the interval, the harder that is to do, because you have to kind of have a wide peripheral vision of what you're looking at. And I'm like right on my guitar, so I can only see so wide right now. So my fault, right? Anyway, that's a fun one, and I forgot to add that to my list, but I'm glad I remembered it because I did want to cover it, but I forgot to write it down. So there's a little bonus one there. Now, basic hexachords. Okay, so when you have 6 notes, you have 2 different accenting patterns. Right? So this will be a new pattern now, and I'm just going to use the simply. All right, so this is going to be the more obvious and easier to pull off accenting pattern, because this is probably a little closer to what you're already doing, even if your legato is a little bit disjointed. It's going to end up being where you end up picking up the whole hand, or otherwise cutting off your last note on each string. Right? We want to get out of that, but we want to start to turn this into something that has an accent. And the first thing is going to be that the first note you play on every string is going to be the most obvious accent, so just go with that, and just focus on connecting the last note as far as you can, all the way up to the exact beginning of the new note. So I just saw a comment come in. John, hey man, welcome. Sounds great, Jason. Love the legato lesson. It's also a great way to increase hand strength, which has really helped me with. Oh yeah, I'm glad. Good. And to me, this is the fretting hand workout. Legato is, if your fretting hand is struggling, go legato. Take the other hand out of it as much as you can and isolate the difficulty. So yeah, I'm totally my reason. So glad. I'm glad you're finding it's helpful too. This is always what I do when I want to just, beef up the fretting hand a bit more, or climb out of a hole I've let myself fall in by not doing it enough. But yeah, man, awesome. I'm glad to see you here too, man. So let's say if I'm doing my ascending, the analogy I always make for this is you're gonna kind of have to pick stroke. You're gonna have to pick at least when ascending. At least this is the school of thought that I got from Rusty Cooley, Shred Guitar Manifesto, I think. I forget. Very old video. But anyway, I do pick the first note of each string while ascending. I kind of pick or choose whether I want to. When I'm descending, I don't really have to. So let's just look at where the pick strokes kind of have to be. Here, and a whisper here. So whisper the pick stroke. Think of it that way. Just see how we do on the neck pickup. All right, now, here's the descending thing. I'll just leave it on the neck pickup, see how it goes here. With the neck, or when descending, you don't really need to pick, okay? And you might be tempted to do it, and for a long time, after learning I didn't need to pick, I still did for a while. I just didn't feel like my hammer-ons coming from that next string were strong enough, but you can hammer on from nowhere, and this is typically, I do it about half the time. So you only need one pick stroke. I guess you don't really need it at all. Here's the reason why, okay? Your thumb is what's opposing everything in the back. Your hand has a lot more swing than, you can go like that, but you're sort of swinging the rest of your hand down onto the string. So you don't really need don't know. You don't need to pick. So that's it. So. Oops. So yeah, sorry, my wire cut, my guitar cable cut out for a second there. Anyway, though, but yeah, that's just showing you like I don't actually have to pick on the way down, even if I'm going across all the strings, because each time I can go. All right, so you can work toward that. If you feel like you still need to do the pick stroke when you're descending, that's fine, but try to work toward not needing to do it anymore. Keep that in regular rotation. So take the pick strokes out, see how you do. Okay, now I might need to lean on them a little longer, and but keep doing it. You'll build up the hand strength to do that, but make sure it's nice and smooth all the way across. So if you're going to try to hit a whole bunch of strings, make sure you don't get like smooth and then don't have like accidental staccato that shouldn't be there as a byproduct of playing that hasn't been fully thought out. All right, so that's what we're kind of trying to do, is connect all the notes to the next note. So we're really hyper-focused. That's why we're doing just 2 strings back and forth. So if you want to do the whole scale, fine, but just do it 2 strings at a time. And it's not a race to the finish line. You don't have to get across all the strings of your guitar today. That is not a priority. It is not. If it's a priority and you can't do it, then it shouldn't be a priority yet, because you're not there yet. You're not at the point yet where it should be a priority. Okay, so I hope that makes more sense here. You'll get there, but don't rush yourself. All right. So anyway, just 2 strings at a time, straight up hexachords. Okay, that's simple as it gets there. Okay. Now, I did say earlier, without clarifying what I meant, whenever you have 6 notes, you have 2 different accenting options. All right. Now we just did the one where you're playing the first note of each string a little bit louder, and that's the most obvious accenting pattern. I think you should always go with the most obvious accenting pattern of anything first, so that you can establish some motor memory, doing the most easy thing that doesn't require any more thinking that is necessary. Okay, get some of that at least into autopilot before you move on to the other accenting patterns, which are going to be a lot of the same movements, but done a little bit differently, because you're going to actually have accents falling in different places. So the way that you do certain hammer-ons and pull-offs is going to happen a little bit differently, because different notes need to be a little bit louder. You can only hammer on so hard, and you can only pull off and pluck so loudly before it's not even legato anymore. So, it's a very small range of dynamics that we've got to work with here in the first place. Okay, but that said, with 6, we just did 1 triplet, 2 triplet. Okay, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's look at it that way, all numbers. Okay, the other way we can do this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and that's going to be a lot less friendly to your hand, because the accents are going to fall in different places. Let's look at it with just a simple ascending sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. That pick stroke falls on the second note. 5, 6. For every odd numbered beat should actually be the accent. So having a pick stroke falling on the second of 2 isn't good. This is why you really, really got to learn how to whisper your pick stroke. Very important. Because that hammer-on with your pinky needs to be just ever so slightly louder than the actual little pick stroke that you do to get to the next string. So. Now, if this is giving you trouble and starts to sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again, here's what you do. You go on over to Guitar Practice Tools, where we are already, and you go over here in your beats, pull up the triplets, but only play in between them, okay? So, oh, these are going down, okay. Oh, let's see. Let's say 100 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's a little faster than I want to go. I'm going to go like 70 because I'm going to go twice as fast as whatever I'm playing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So anyway, that's how you deal with that. Is use the guitar practice tools. If you don't have access to guitar practice tools, go to guitarpracticetools.com and there you can get a 30-day free trial, completely free. If you don't like it, cancel it. You have an entire month to get around to canceling it, but I don't think you're going to dislike it, so you might as well stay on. Anyway, go to guitarpracticetools.com, get a free trial, because this is, get started with this, see what kind of results you can get in a month. Seriously, if I'm lying, cancel, don't give me any money. And if you do like it, then give me a little bit of money. That's fine. It's only $10 a month. All right, so anyway, yeah, this is the way that I also work out and have been doing so for many, many, many years. So it works. This is how I build my speed. This is how I regain my speed I've lost when life happens and I don't get around to playing the way I want to. So having access to this is definitely been a blessing for me, so you should try it too. Anyway, that is how you do that. Anyway, so having something like that, having something where you can hear what you're doing against the context so that you don't lose track of it and start doing the wrong accenting. All right, so that's the 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. And it's almost like eighth notes in 3/4. Anytime you have something that is 6 notes long, do both of those accentings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of like 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, but then also 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. So if you treat it like triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then you can just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So here's a little exercise called normal speed, double speed that can help you a great deal, right? Watch this. Let's go back. Let's do, same thing. 1, 2, 3, normal speed, triplet, double speed. Double speed. 2 times, 4 times. Right? That's all you have to do is just go back and forth between them, because this is how these things are going to kind of work out in real life music as well. Sorry, my guitar jack or possibly my cable is a little bit loose, I think. So anyway, not going to deal with that now. Okay, so moving right on. That's some just basic kind of hexachord type stuff. So let's get a little bit more complex, but not too much. We're going to now, I'm on a 7th string. You can use a 7th string if you want, but I'm just going to use the 6th, 5th, and 4th string. Okay, again, going back to A minor, the key, as my reference here. There's a great place to do this. It involves 3 strings, okay? And it's kind of triplets of triplets. Kind of like 1, triplet. All right, there's one place in every scale, at least on a guitar tuned to 4ths most of the way. It happens on the 7th of the minor scale, okay? And it's where you have the same shape, not 2 strings in a row, but 3 strings in a row. All right, so we have the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the root note right there. All right. So this is where I'm going to use the triplet speed again, just because why not? It's right there. I'll do it like 60 BPM because I'm going a little bit faster here. Kind of going normal speed, triple speed at this point. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same notes, different octave. Anyway, that's it. Straightforward. I ascend the 3 string. I'm actually sweeping. I'm just, basically just. Right? Just basically going up and down the same things, the same 3 strings, back and forth, same notes, repeat note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, and then start again on 1. So you're going to repeat the 9th note on the way back, so you have 3, 3, and 3 each way. If you don't do the repeat note, it's going to throw the math off, and your rhythm is not going to be able to work. Unless you move to another, another mode in the scale and do, so I could do like. That's fine. Don't need a repeat note as long as you're going to move to another mode. You still need to basically get 3 notes: a pick, a pull off, and a pull off, or a pick, a hammer on, and a hammer on. That's how it needs to go on 3 strings in a row. It could even be string skipping if you want. Or anyway, almost out of time, so let's throw the next couple of them in here too. These next 2 are very, very similar. Actually, there's only 3 more to go anyway. Great, good. So the next one is something you do on 1 string, and it's going back to kind of what we did earlier with Legato. Okay. Anyway, so let's do this at A minor. I'm going to do it at the 10th position of the 2nd string now. This sequence is called 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of an Yngwie Malmsteen go-to. I don't need you right now, E minor. No, D minor, I mean. Sorry, I got a D minor arpeggio. I'm here trying to play A minor. Anyway, that's what it sounds like with alternate pitch. All right, but we're not going to do any picking, except maybe the first time. All right, that one is a serious workout, I will tell you, and I'm getting the hand about to explode, or wrist and forearm about to explode feeling again, right? So anyway, that's a major workout. Save that one toward the end of your session as well. 2 more to go. The next one is almost the same thing, and I would do the same kind of thing, going back and forth. Just start off between the root mode and the 7th of the harmonic minor scale, and you get all the finger combinations you need. You get basically just the alternating middle finger, basically. That's your low note, that's your high note. One of these 2 has got to be your middle note. Since it depends on where you are on the scale, you got to cover a couple different notes. That's the logic in a nutshell, okay? So I'm going to do that with the next one here too. It's almost the same idea. It's 1, 3, 2, 3. So instead of 6 beats long, it's only 4. Okay? It's pedal point. I like doing the pick stroke between them, but I will admit it's a little louder than I want it to be, and I could work on trying to whisper with that pick stroke, but let's look at what happens if we don't do a pick stroke at all. What we need to do instead is get that finger where we need it. Get over here, pull off with the pinky, get the middle finger out of the way, and put the first finger there. right? And moving around, that's the kind of thing you want to do is hold on to the last note. What finger needs to start? The first finger, again, is going to be your low note every time. So what do you need to do to get to that note, all right? The next one is just a fun one. I said the first thing in the beginning of this episode, don't just do chromatic stuff. Well, okay. Chromatic stuff can be a little bit fun, and so getting 4 fingers all in on the game per string is actually a nice benefit of that too. You can also do this with things like the diminished scale, whole step, half step, that is, alternating. I'm just going to show you a little thing from the very first video I ever made, and I called it the chromatic spiral. And this was originally meant to be a picking exercise, but you don't have to pick. You know, the 3 textures strategy is basically be able to do it with legato or with picking and selective palm muting for that matter. So I'm just going to start at E this time. All right, so it's basically all together. It should sound like, oops, yeah, I did. And you can kind of keep going across all your strings. That's just a silly fun one you can do if you want. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you know what? One other one that I meant to go over and didn't add it to my list. So here's the big bonus that I really wanted to cover anyway. I'm not going to let you go before we get this one. It's what I call the zigzag. And to me, it's kind of one of my favorite things to do with legato, except it comes out to really weird rhythmic numbers. So you have to kind of establish the full length of what you want based on what you're trying to play along to, whether it be 16th notes or, you know, sextuplets or whatever, you know, how long a phrase, how many, like 32 notes plus a final note, like that level of like, how long does this phrase need to be note by note, and then cut it to the length you want it to be based on where you want to end, okay? So the idea of the zigzag is simply just get more mileage out of the notes on each string before you move on to the next string, okay? So if I was an A harmonic minor, instead of just going out of notes, right? Or, you know, do a slide, right? One extra note. Instead, you go up, but go back down. Now come back up. Now go to your next string. So it's 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3 per string. So you get 7 notes per string, not 3. So right away, immediately, I can tell you that instead of 18 notes plus a final note, because that's 6 strings times 3 notes is 18, I have 7 notes times 6. That's 42 notes plus a final note, 43. That's not really a multiple of 4 or 6. But it's one more than a multiple of 6, isn't it? Because it's 7 times 6, right? So anyway, I can subtract 6 from the end, or sorry, from the beginning, and still end on that. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Miscount that. That's still a multiple of 6. So I chopped a couple notes off there. Anyway, yeah. Somehow we can make it work, but depends on what, you know, what's the situation. But anyway, what I like to do is just now, when I get to the outermost strings, this is important too. I don't do 7, I only do 5, okay? So when I get up here, you know, I might do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When I get to the outermost string and I want to turn around, I only do 5. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And then I go back, because that allows me to turn around in my melody and go back in the other direction. And then I can descend 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Here's where I'll turn around again on my 6th string. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, go straight to the next string. So you got a bunch of 7s and an occasional 5. Rhythmically, this is not very friendly, but again, count how long you need the phrase to be, figure out where you need to start, or just start from somewhere and play it a bunch of places and for the length you need, and see if you end on the note you wanted to end on. And if not, how many notes above or below the note you meant to land on are you? That's how many notes above or below you need to start on instead. So if I do this, let's see, yeah. Say I wanted to end on an A instead of a G, I started on a 5th. Well, G is 1 note lower than A, so I need to not start on the 5th, but on the 6th, on the F. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Have it on. I was muting it by accident, but that's the right phrase. That's, so 8 beats worth of 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 5 E and 6 E and 7 E and oh no, 7 beats worth. So I can do it again there. Yeah, got an extra beat out of it just by doing a turn at the very end. So anyway, yeah, that's the zigzag sequence. You can find that in the book of sequences, which you can find at ShredMentorOnline.com/products. You can get the ebook version or the physical paperback copy. And there's also, I think there's a link to be able to get a signed copy of the hardcover on Amazon if you want that too. So anyway, that is it for tonight. But like I said and showed you here, don't forget the power of having decent practice tools. So again, I really can't urge you enough. Go to guitarpracticetools.com, get yourself a free 30-day trial, see how you do over the course of a month. I think you're really going to find this to be a very valuable asset in your arsenal when it comes to practicing and getting results fast, getting back your old results fast if you let yourself get rusty, which I admit I'm familiar with that one too. But breaking new ground is also what it's for, and I've done that, plenty of that, thanks to Guitar Practice Tools as well. So I know I built it, but I use it. So I just basically created a version of what I was already doing anyway for my students as well. Anyway, that is it for tonight. I hope that what I've shown you tonight and explained to here really helps to kind of clarify anything that has been kind of getting you caught up with your, catching you up rather in your legato techniques, so that you can overall get much smoother lines. And remember to mute your strings too. Keep all the strings you don't want to play quiet by just leaning on them with whatever spare skin you might have, and just isolate a single string, so that even if you string all 7 strings, I only hear 1. I couldn't hear another string if I wanted to, because I'm muting all of them. My thumb is leaning across 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then other fingers are sort of touching string 1, so only the 2nd string. So just look for different kinds of combinations of fingers and open strings, and look at the kind of rhythmic phrase you get out of it. If it's a multiple of 2, 3, 4, or 6, go with it. Make it feel like a rhythmic pattern immediately, even at a slower tempo. Make it sound the same way every time. Keep doing it and doing it and doing it. If it's missing a finger because of what that interval pattern calls for, move it over a mode. Get the other fingers, get every possible finger combination that you can possibly get in there, in there. All right. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I will see you again next Tuesday night at 8 Eastern. Yeah, and that is it for tonight. So thank you again for checking out the show, and I hope you liked the little song I threw in at the beginning. It's my latest thing I've been working on. So if you happen to catch the first 4.5 minutes before the show started today. That's something I'm working on for a separate project that has been a very long time coming. I'll say that much. But anyway, thank you once again for joining me, and rock on until next time.